This word. What's that? Okay.
Snap with that.
I'll call a highway committee meeting.
This is on highway.
This is forestry. Whatever. Hey, it's close enough. Okay, we need. Roll call. Shannon, you wanna?
Gary Ader,
Here.
George Bousset,
Here.
William Metzinger,
Here.
Dave Mindel,
Here.
Patrick Kinney.
Okay, we need an election of chairperson. Need a motion? Anybody have their hand up?
I would nominate Gary Ader as second.
Okay, are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Okay, there's been a motion, a second to nominate Gary Ader as chairperson for the forestry department. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Like, we turn it over to Mr. Ader.
We need to elect the vice chairperson. Any nomination? William? I nominate Mr. Mindel. Any seconds on Mr. Mindel?
We don't need seconds.
Oh. Okay. Any other nomination? Guess it's a unanimous. Dave Mindel is vice chairman. We will pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now I need the nomination to approve the agenda. And our pack. Make a motion to approve the agenda. Dave Minor makes a motion, anyone second it?
Not a second.
Pat seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Chamber of Commerce is Mary Ann, right?
Yes, she is.
Hi, everyone. So, we did have a meeting not too long ago in Butternut at the Butternut Cafe where the food is okay. It's one of my favorite billboards. Anyway, and recently we had our Bird and Nature Festival, and that was over Memorial Day weekend. There was about 250 people that participated throughout the Midwest. They come from all over. And I just have to tell you this story. I had to leave and go to a luncheon that Enbridge was hosting. So we were talking about some things, and I said, we're doing this Bird and Nature Festival. And so there's going to be groups down at Gilman Park and at Morgan Falls and Copper Falls and Caroline Lake. And this one guy's like, I have to go tell my people that. And I said, yeah, they're birders. They're not protesters. Now, they could be protesters, but these guys are birders. So they had to go let people know that there were actually people that were on a trip down in their area. So anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting. And I just want to let you know that we dropped off our visitor guides. They should be there at the village right there in your office. And we have the new logo now. I've sent it over to Heather and the girls at the county to use, throughout whatever county kind of correspondence they have. And we have a new motorcycle and auto tour map that we've actually updated. So that's in that office as well. And I think things are going well. Tourists are trickling in now. And yeah, we're all set. Any questions or comments, concerns?
Pat's got a question.
Mary.
Hi, Pat.
This is Pat Kinney. I've been looking into a comprehensive outdoor recreation plan. Bayfield County has one, and they've had one since 1981. my understanding from what I've read online is that Ashland County has an outdoor recreation plan and it's embedded in the county forestry plan. And when I say that, I'm thinking about grant opportunities in particular from the state. What I don't know is because the county's outdoor recreation plan is embedded in the forestry plan, is I don't know how comprehensive that is in terms of outdoor recreation for Ashland County as a whole. And again, I'm thinking grant funding, but I'm also thinking of opportunities within Ashland County to look for opportunities to do more to support outdoor recreation with an eye towards it supporting economic development. So trails, for example, snowmobiles, UTV, etc. I don't snowmobile, I don't ride an UTV, so I'm not real familiar with what we have. But I do know that people use them. It's good for the locals. It keeps the reason to live here and spend time here, keep families here. But it's also supports economic development from the tourist standpoint. So my question to you is, can you send me everything that you have either electronically or if you've got hard copies, can you get that to the courthouse? We have a finance meeting tomorrow. But then I can look through that stuff and see if we have all that information effectively to pull together. And that's sufficient. But I'm also thinking about that from a marketing standpoint. If you have everything that we could possibly give you as far as marketing Ashland County to support that in terms of economic development. And then when we have a finance meeting, I want to ask you about the impact of the city's decision to use the hotel tax for their purposes on supporting economic development and tourists, how that impacts your marketing ability for Ashland County and therefore the ability to draw tourists into Ashland County, in particular, the part outside of the city limits.
Thanks, Pat. So I want to understand this because I don't have, I've never even seen an outdoor rec comprehensive plan. I've never seen one for Ashland County. I have no idea what that would look like. I can tell you that we have our snowmobile maps, and that shows the trails that we have. And we have an ATV map. And that shows the ATV trails. We used a sportsman's map for some hunting. I don't think sportsman's map is digital. Chris, it's right in there at that. I think you know which one. That sportsman's map has been around since I've been around 27 years.
Yeah, the sportsman's map is not digital.
No, I think that was before we had indoor plumbing.
Correct.
But anyway, I'm not sure if you want just the brochures that we promote. I guess I'm unclear on what you need for this.
Any information that you have. So I read Bayfield County's comprehensive outdoor recreation plan. They've got a 5-year one done again. And it's a rather impressive document. I grew up in Bayfield County, still have land there. And so as much as I'm familiar with Bayfield County, when you put it all together in a document and look at what's there, it's rather amazing what they have. And it makes a really good marketing tool because you can look through all of this stuff for all sorts of things in Bayfield County if you're planning trips. And I don't know in Ashland County if we have something comparable. So as a starting point, I want to understand what we have for information from the county, in our part that the state identifies as an outdoor rec plan, what, Mellon, Glidden and others have, what townships have. And if we can effectively pull that together to support your marketing, then that might help us in the effectiveness of that marketing. But then if there are gaps, for example, let's say there's a place where we could do more with trails and that would really help as far as, the economic development aspect. I've read through what we have in this packet, but maybe there's other places that would make more sense, to work on for trails because they would support economic development. So I'm trying to gather that information first as a starting point, and then I'd have to learn more about grant opportunities. Do we have what we need in hand for applying for grants that we might be interested in? Or is there more that we need to do on that? So whatever information you have would be a helpful starting point for me to look for.
Okay. Yeah, it's pretty, everything that we have is pretty much paper, brochures, things like that. Bayfield County has an excellent Asana program. They have a really, really excellent, they've got a whole IT department that has all sorts of, GIS types of maps. And I mean, they're way ahead of all the counties around here in terms of things they have online. So, yeah, it would be nice to have some of those things, but I don't know. It will take a little while to get them. Chris, you probably have more information there than I do on trails and such.
I mean, everything that we would have would be related specifically to the county forest. The
Okay.
trails and snowmobile trails we would have access to. But we do have a GIS department. I don't know what kind of information she has in her system countywide. But we have, county forest specific data.
Well, maybe that's an opportunity, Pat, to get together with myself and then the GIS department just to see what we can do, what's at our fingertips, and what we may not know of what's available that we can put on the county tourism site. So,
And as I say all of that, last year when we passed the budget, the board had an interest in looking for ways to do more to support economic development. And if we look at the outdoor recreation and the impact on economic development, pulling these resources together, digitizing them, pulling in some ideas from other counties like right next door, or maybe working with them. There might, it may take some investment, but if the board's interested in that investment because we see it supporting economic development outside the city limits of Ashland, then that's something that we can look at for budget purposes.
okay,
All right, thank you.
thank you. Anybody else?
I was just gonna comment, Pat, on that when John's done with his presentation about snowmobile. You're gonna find out there's a lot of bridges and stuff that need money, so. So we need money, so it's a good thing to bring up. I don't see any other questions, Mary.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Moving on to public comment. Anybody have any public comment? In here, everybody's here because they need to be. Anybody online that has public comment,
Nope.
Any public comment? Hearing none. We'll move on to approval of minutes. Can we get a motion to approve the minutes, Bill?
I make motions that they be approved as printed.
Bill makes a motion to approve it.
I'll second that.
Dave seconds it. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
I
UNR reports, fisheries, Zach or Jason, or Jason. Oh, we got one of it.
Jason Falstad, Fisheries of Ashland, Iron County. Zach and I are both here today to just let you know that new committee members and stuff, just to let you know who we are, put a face to the name. And then also, we worked in Upper Clam Lake this spring, doing a walleye population estimate. The number's right around 2 adult walleyes per acre, which is not great, but it's not bad. And then also there's a healthy population of young of the year muskie, so there's good recruitment going on. And then also we're monitoring Upper Clam and Day Lake because I'll be doing a drawdown at Day Lake coming up this summer for dam repair. The feds have been out there doing a little monitoring work. We're gonna see when they draw it down to make sure that there's no fish stranded, and then also to make sure if they all do go through the dam, then we'll start a program to hopefully restock in the future, but we don't see that being an issue. Again, like I've told you, when you dump minnows out of a bucket, they all swim to the back end, so they don't all dump out right when you start pouring the water out. The feds will be doing a drawdown of only 6 inches max a day, so it's not like they're just gonna open up the dam and flush it out. Other than that, we did a lot of work in Iron County this year. Last year was the Ashland County. This year we were in Iron County. So I'll let Zach talk.
Oh, Bill got a question.
did you have to shock Clam Lake?
We did shock it. We did early shocking this spring for walleye and muskie. Then we went back a couple weeks ago and looked for panfish and bass.
Does that hurt the fish or does it kill many or, you know?
No, so what it does is, we shock at night because shocking's more effective in shallower water. And then also, we only have a depth of maybe 2-3 feet that the electricity actually goes down. I do about 4 amps, which just stuns the fish, probably a lot of times not even long enough for the people to net them. Like they'll be there, they'll see them, they try to net them, they're gone already. If they do net them, they put them in a tank in a boat. The tank is grounded, so they're no longer being shocked, but they're getting fresh water continuously. And those fish bounce back within a minute or two. After we're done doing the circuit around the lake, we measure all the fish. We clip them, sometimes weigh them. Muskies, we put a small pit tag in them like they do for cats and dogs. So we can identify them if we catch them in the future. We get good growth rates. If we tag one this year and we get it 5 years later and it's 25 inches bigger, we know they have pretty good growth rates. So we do a lot of stuff. This year we did a comprehensive survey, so we'll be back out there again this fall, looking for how well the fish recruited, looking for young of the year walleye, muskie, bass, mainly game fish. So, but yeah, to answer your question, that no, they don't get harmed or killed when you shock them.
Yeah, the only other thing I would say pertaining this year is that I will be putting together a regulation change package, which is through our public comment route for changing fishing regulation, which is kind of like the fast track, which we use to revert from a special regulation to statewide regulation. So we're gonna do that on a couple systems, probably 4 or 5. For example, like Little Clam, there's an 18-inch bass length limit out there. You know, winter kill situation, regulation has not been working the way that it's kind of designed. It was put in place 25 years ago. Now we have ample data to suggest that it's not really needed, and you know, there's an opportunity there for anglers anyways, and it's, you know, there's just a lot of special regulations on the landscape that are not needed any longer, or were tried, and now we have the data to say no, we don't need it here. So we're gonna try to get some of those off the books, and I'll be putting that together probably August, something like that. So you might see more about that through public notice, and stuff like that. But like I said, Little Clam, Lake 3, some of those winter kill bass populations that had high bass size limits. And then, for example, like East Twin, 28-inch min muskie, same on like Mineral Lake, 28-inch min muskie regs, and move those to just a statewide regulation. So get rid of some of the fine print and extra over regulation in the reg book. But that'll be later this summer. So
Anybody else have any questions for the fishery guys?
I do. If the DNR wants information on Little Clam, I've got 13 years plus in written form, and I have 30 years plus. I was on Little Clam yesterday. It's the most fertile lake in Wisconsin. It freezes out on the average before the aerator went in every 7 years, and which is a waste of the resource. I mean, I agree, the 18-inch limit's gotta go. I don't care what happens, you can slot it, whatever. But I was on there yesterday and the male bass were all jumping out of. I'll tell you what, no offense, this is nothing to do with the DNR, but we need rain, and we need rain bad. These lakes are so low right now, we can't go through another winter like this. Because that lake is down feet, not inches. Nobody's gonna fish it, they can't launch their boat, but I was on there yesterday and I saw all the male bass protecting areas, but they were jumping out of the water every place you looked, and I'm sure they were going after bugs or something, but they were hitting like they normally do this time of year, because I think they're still protecting some areas. But though that lake is the 18-inch limit's kind of ridiculous, because I'm not gonna keep an 18-inch plus bass anyways, but like you say, rain first, which will help everybody. And but I have written documentation of 13 years. I can show you the cycles that lake particularly goes through and other lakes. When it freezes out, what it happens to when it comes back. But I have never, all my years of fishing, I've never seen a more fertile lake than that lake. If we could just keep it from freezing already. So, thank you.
we'll hit you up for the data and we'll work on the rain.
Yeah.
Dancing.
Yeah, I guess done with fisheries, we'll go to Jenna and Wildlife.
Yeah, my name is Jenna Malinowski. I'm the wildlife biologist for Iron and Ashland, Southern Ashland County. And basically, I mostly do my work, on the, sitting with the county forest as a liaison. And then also doing a lot of the, non-management habitat work on the state end of things. So like all the surveys, CWD sampling, deer aging, all of that for Ashland County. But most of the time I spend, doing everything in Iron County. So depending on what season it is, I do, wolf tracking in the winter time. Lots of wolf tracking. This year we did over 500, transects, have some of the best data on wolf populations right now. We have that estimate should come out sometime this month. So far, it sounds like it's been pretty stable. Our population has been pretty stable, from years past, since the last harvest, I should say. Once it rebounded. Other than that, most recently, just finished up woodcock and grouse surveys for Iron and Ashland. It seems as though grouse is doing really well in Ashland County, in Price County. Iron County, our numbers, I don't know what it is, but it just seems to be fairly stagnant. This has been a really weird spring as well. And I don't know if Iron County was hit a little bit differently than Ashland and Price. But speaking with other people out there on these surveys, it sounds like they are hearing booming populations, while in Iron County, it's just kind of staying pretty similar to years past. Same thing kind of goes with woodcock. So surveys, I should say, for woodcock, I think they ran up on the reservation on Government Road down to Elm Voice Road, I believe. And then around here is off of Conley down to Forest Road 184. And the grouse survey is also on that road. And basically what we're seeing is anywhere where there has been really, really good painting and drumming counts. And then as we get closer to hardwood or like just large thickets of hardwood, that kind of has been decreasing, but still really good numbers here in Ashland County. We also just finished our CDACs, which is our County Deer Advisory Committees. Those recommendations for tags have pretty much been stable for antlerless tags, I should say. Have been stable from years past. 118 remained, which is like the northern part of the county. That number is the exact same as last year. It's just the allotment of tags is now going more to private, public land versus mostly on private land. Let's see. Our further advisory committee also just wrapped up, and so I sit on that as well. And basically, we just discussed tag allotments for bobcat, fish, or otter, and also any other issues that arise as far as new legislation, new recommendations to persuade the legislative rulings, and then also looking at different zone changes, different season changes and things like that. So the biggest one that you'll see this year is that we increase our bobcat quota slightly. I wanted to really push for a higher quota, but we've only increased it 50 throughout the entire northern region. Douglas County is where we really see a lot of high pressure. Ashland and Iron, not so much. Fisher population, we actually decreased slightly. We decreased by 25 because our fisher population is just not doing well, and we can't figure out why, other than our bobcat population is doing really, really well. And so those two, bobcats predate on fisher, especially when they're young, and so there might be some correlation there. We're trying to push some research as well between those two species. Otter, we are looking at increasing the bag from 2 to 3 otter, which may be a little bit soon, considering we just increased our quota, or bag limit a couple years back, but we're from 2 to 3, and then or at least pushing for it. It might take a year or 2 years or so to get through. And then a quota of 300 or 3,000, I'm sorry. So from 25,000, 3,000. Yeah, other than that, I'll be coming back throughout the seasons and updating you as different seasons progress and change, and so the next one will probably be deer in the fall, where we're gonna be asking for additional survey help, and things like that, but other than that, I assisted with Ashland County doing some invasive species work, and we'll probably be doing some more hunter walking trail mowing this year. That is slated for this year. I do not have a technician. I haven't had one now for 2 years. And trying to get everything done on my own is difficult, especially with our funding issues now. And so we will be having probably discussions about that here soon too.
I have a question. Is it too early to tell if the lawn growth has been up or down, or is it too early yet?
Yeah, it's a little too early to tell. So we do fawn-to-doe ratio surveys in August and September. So because right now, if we were to count fawns, majority of them die or are predated on or starve or things like that. So we try to count in August and September once they get past their area where we see the highest mortality. And so we will start counting fawn-to-doe ratios in August. And really get a good grasp on what's going on there. But what I can say is I do car-killed deer analysis throughout the springtime. So any doe that's killed on the side of the road and bucks, I will cut open, I'll look at their fat content to see how well they fared the winter. I'll look at their bone marrow to identify if they're close to starvation or not. And then also if a doe is pregnant, I'll see how many fawns she has in her, if any. And so far this year, I didn't have a huge sample size. I think I had six doe and 2 bucks, which is pretty low. But I also wasn't around majority of the spring. But so far I had a fawn that was pregnant with one fawn that likely would have dropped. I had every other doe was pregnant. And the bucks they still had bone marrow that was still either white or slightly pink, which means that they weren't even close to starvation. So we actually had, even though it was a really harsh winter, or seemed harsh, it didn't seem as though our deer were as impacted as what I would have thought. And that's likely just because they had 2 really good years of being able to fatten up and be able to make it through the winter a little bit easier. And we had early green up, which always helps. Because that's where we usually see die off is in March. And we had green coming up already in tree walls and stuff in March.
Are you connected at all with when highway department, it's not the highway department that does the pickup of dead deer along your road? Who does that? And do you contact them to sample that's?
No, so that's basically, so I get a call from people who know that I do this, or that I will and drive and see one and do it myself. But one person drives to Odina every year, or I mean every day. And then other people who are just in the area. But it's difficult with that because it changes sometimes annually who does the road pickup. And so I can't remember in Ashland County if it's a highway department or if they have they have
In
contractor, right? Yeah.
They were a lower bid.
Yeah. And so Iron County, their highway department still does it, so they do contact me here and there.
I seen my first fawn along the road when I came from there. It was dead.
Oh no.
That was the first one to see. Since I've been down in Butternut, I've seen 2 more. Tiniest little fawn my brother has. And I've seen 2 since then, so.
Yeah, I have been seeing quite a bit of fawns and doubles, which is nice. Good sound.
Any other questions for Jenna? Thanks, Jenna. Moving on to Roy and Ryan and Forestry. It's not wide.
Okay.
My name is Royce. We brought him the County Forest Liaison to Ashland County Forest. Donnie Peasley, team leader for Ashland and Iron counties based on Mercer. I was asked to give like a brief overview of what we do for the county. Kind of like 3 different areas. There's direct financial assistance. There's like 9 different funding sources that counties can tap into. 3 of the more common ones are the administrator grant program, aids to the towns, which I got the letters PILT there, which stands for payment in lieu of taxes, and then the wildlife habitat grant, some of the more common ones. And I believe, Chris, you kind of tapped into the variable acreage share program.
Yes, yep,
Correct.
correct. And the county forest road aids.
Okay. So, and that the road aids, it's like $351 a mile.
Right.
That's paid by the Wisconsin DOT, and that all totals up to about a little over $8 million a year in total. DNR technical assistance, we provide 46,000 staff hours annually. That's equivalent to 26 full-time employment positions dedicated to the county forest at no cost. What we do is we have an annual partnership meeting every year, and then we usually have a work planning meeting as far as the duties that the counties would like us to focus on. Usually for Ashland County, that's mostly timber or recon and timber sale establishment. I did help out with the garlic mustard control here last week. That's a little bit different for every county, depending on how their land base is. Some counties are more in prescribed burning because they have more of the jack pine scrub oak in their landscape mix, but most of the service that we provide to counties in the timber sale side of things. Every county forest has a liaison assigned to it. And that's kind of the main contact for each county. In addition, and this was at no cost or towards the time standards, counties have access to the forest health specialist, ecologist, silviculturist, forest product specialist, forest certification manager, hydrologist, economist, and wildlife biologist. And the 3rd area is DNR authority on county forest land, which is founded in law. I don't really get involved with this, but Doug Brown, our public land specialist, he's kind of in the 15-year comprehensive land use planning and approval process. And any amendments that need to be made to those. Entry and withdrawal of county forest lands. Approval, close out of timber sales. Ensure that town stumpage severance payments are made and ensure counties remain compliant with 2811. Questions on that?
Bill, got a question.
Okay,
You are out of Mellon
correct.
and Ryan is out of Mercer.
Correct.
And how long have you been there, Ryan?
Going on 4 years already.
4 years, and you're like 1 year almost.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Just for the rest of the members, that they get an idea.
Okay. All right, no other questions, I'll keep moving on. Our county forest time standards, those are revisited every 5 years. We go through a worksheet and we come up with hours that we're going to give to the county forest. So our base hours to Ashland County are 848. And we've surpassed that already by 48 hours. We have 896 hours put in. So a new year will begin on July 1st.
Yep.
Now we'll work on a new 848 hours. We're gonna have a meeting with Chris after this meeting to see what we're gonna be working on. Personnel, we've had a couple of vacancies up in Mellon for a little while now. The forester ranger and the technician job has been filled. You'll probably meet those folks hopefully at the next county committee meeting. They just couldn't be here today because they have a training. But Ben Pitzel is the forester ranger, Audrey Siebel is the forestry technician. They started on May 18th. And as far as fire suppression, so far in the state this year, there's been 580 fires statewide, which have burned a total of 895 acres. In National and County, there have been 6 fires, which burned a total of a little over an acre. For the 2026 fire season, the 10-year average, there's been the same number of fires. However, the acreage has been down about 38%. That's probably due to more of a normal winter, kind of gives a little bit wetter spring. So it's been kind of down a little bit. So, any questions or?
Anybody got questions for Roy? Got any, Dan?
Well, I'll just do a little talking here while I'm here, right? So thanks, Roy, for covering most of that stuff. Just gonna add a couple more things. Yeah, new members here to the committee. If you're not familiar with the County Forest Partnership in the state of Wisconsin, really unique relationship between the state and the individual counties. Started in 1937 with state statute 28.10. So if you've got some interest in history, looking up on that, a long and productive relationship between the two agencies. So probably as far as the DNR goes, forestry is the folks you guys are going to see here the most because we have a little bit more tangible tie with that hour commitment. So, you'll see us around the county forest. We'll be at all these meetings tying in with you guys, working on the county forest in collaboration with Tom and Chris and Dan here. So, just other thing I kind of wanted to talk about, as far as team overview goes, Roy mentioned that 848 hours. So as a liaison, he's got the bulk of that time commitment, about 500 hours per year will be assigned to him. And then Ben and Audrey will have that remaining time. So as we get them trained up, we'll get them going on the county forest. But their first few months are going to be pretty intensive training. So they're going to be in the classroom and in the field working with our specialists to get trained up before we kind of let them loose and give them the reins. So yeah, that's all I got. We kind of taking steps forward in the right direction here, getting positions filled. So yeah, moving in the right direction. So any questions for me?
I don't see any, Ryan, thanks.
Thank you.
Moving on to the snowmobile report.
Here's kind of what I got, short and sweet. It's a recap of the 25-26 season. I looked at the SNARS reporting the other day. So far this year, the county spent 907 hours grooming trails. We had 1,216 hours of trail maintenance, which can be brushing and signage and stuff like that. We have a lot more trail maintenance to do. There's a lot of signage that has to be put up, replaced. So it's an ongoing thing. In Glidden, over Dragon Creek Bridge, we still have to get that bridge removed. We are having one bridge replaced up on Trail 16 on Botland Ringo. Once we get that in Anderson's bridge and replacing that, I'm going to talk to them about removing that 55-foot bridge. The landowner said, come and get it whenever. Now we need to, Jeff Crown said we can store it at his house. So we're going to park it there for short term. Or before we could even use it, I'm sure we'd have to have it inspected and gone through and stuff like that. Or, like I made a suggestion, maybe we just sell it to some other club and let them worry about it. They take the money. Right now we're working on future reroutes from Ashland Club is. We lost some landowner usage agreements. Basically on Trail 9 down through Sanborn and that, so we have to. Mike Weaver's working on that. He's the Ashland Club president, trying to get that connected, so we can get all the way back down into Marengo. I talked to Michelle Johnson yesterday about Trail 13 from Poppy Road south to County Highway C, which was line 5 is going in. She told me they're still waiting for 4 water crossing permits. And hopefully they'll get them June, July, somewhere in here. And I said, well, what about reusing the trail? And basically she told me to call her back in the middle of September. So that's it. In April, we had a alliance meeting, we decided to sell the John Deere tractor because it wasn't used that much. We took that money that we got from the John Deere tractor and we applied it to our loan, to the 2018 Tucker that we have, it's stored in Mellon right now. So that helped cut down that $32,000 you have to make on Tucker payments. Also, in May, I resigned as the AWSC County Director. Don Deal is gonna be the new county director for the AWSC. Bob Miles is still gonna be the representative. And then back in March, Chris asked me about maintenance items, wear items. I sent him an email. Every county-owned Tucker needs to have some idler wheels, stuff like that, it's all. But what's shocking is everything, oh, they're just an idler wheel. Well, the 2-inch wide idler wheels, $500 a piece, and then for $350. And every Tucker that's owned by the county needs idler wheels for sure.
Gotta track themselves good or no?
Well, that's why we want to replace the idler wheels so we don't lose the track, because the tractor $12,000 a piece now.
I didn't know if everybody knew.
They're, yeah, they're real pricey, so. And, other than that, yeah, we're still working summertime. I thought we'd have a quiet summer, but no. We still have emergency signs we're putting up. The Mellon Club bought all new emergency signs. We're on the trails. We've been replacing them. We started on the southeast corner, and now we're working our way. We have to get out to Iron County and all the way up to Marengo. So we're replacing them and replacing a bunch of signages and, you know. So, yeah, it's just, yeah. We're gonna try to lay low for June, July, and August, let the bugs calm down before we get back in what's something more.
Did you have more of the blowdowns over the trails
Yes,
compared to other years?
yes, that heavy, that wet heavy snow.
Their season's done.
Yeah, that's still, we actually. Yeah, it wasn't good, let's put it that way. That's what a lot of hours we spent brushing.
Especially the balsam and the spruce.
Balsam, everything was just kept right in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Forest Service did, you know, on Dead Horse, they did cut a lot of stuff out for us there, so. The Forest Service was just through earlier this month, I think it was in May, they went through on Dead Horse and did some brushing. Of course, it's dual purpose trail, so opening up to that.
When did the snowmobile leases expire? Is there a certain time of the year?
Leases,
Yeah, were they allowed to go through somebody's land?
well, whenever we decide to close the trails down, normally it's March 15th.
No, but
So the leases are perpetual. The document is a
Are you talking about
self-renewing,
land usage agreement?
yes,
Oh,
the document is a self-renewing document.
right.
So unless one of the other two parties reaches out to the other party and says, we don't want it here anymore, it self-renews in perpetuity.
Right. And we're working on that, my wife's working on, we're meeting with Tom next month, I think it is, or whatever.
And it's doing sometime, yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna go through, cause we did talk with my wife talked with the lady, the GIS lady up in Ashland, so we got the maps and landowners and Tom's working on it, so we're gonna try to get that all updated. Cause some of it's really old, you know, and land changes so frequently, you know, so. You know, and like I was telling Chris before, we lost the usage of one farm field. Along the fence line, and Mike Weaver and another guy went and talked to Jason, and it was really good up to lasted for 2 days, and all of a sudden, nope, that's it, you ain't going down there. So it's a never ending battle. You know, it doesn't affect so much from Marengo south, it's like the northern half, because of all the farm fields and all that, which I can't blame farms. You know? I mean, they don't want to run across the field and stuff, so be it, so. But the fourth end of it down here, it's not too bad, our trails don't change a whole lot, so.
Any other questions for John?
So when you lose the farm fields, and I grew up on a farm east of Mason, about 210 acres, and the trail runs not very far south of me. When you lose those fields, you know, mentioned in the documents that people get off the trails, is it damage to crop chill, let's say there's alfalfa, not much snow and it winter kills, or is it they get close to houses and?
Well,
noise,
put
or?
it this way, the problem we have is you can put up signs to help trees over on trails. All it takes is 2 or 3 people. You're going across some farmer's hayfields, and you say, oh, we got this big open field, and away they go. I put up stay on trail signs, you know, private property, stay on. I'm sorry, there's just people that just don't care, they just ride wherever they want, you know?
Oftentimes it's a perception of damage. The farmers perceive that there's a damage being caused.
Right,
Typically, there's not, but they perceive that.
yeah,
We've had other issues in the past with trails too close to homes that are disturbing people's sleep patterns and that kind of thing.
we gotta reroute one trail by 112 just because somebody said he wants to ride in the right of way, which is legal, statute law. He didn't want us riding in front of his house, so we had to bounce across the highway and then we go down 500 yards and jump back on, you know, just to. So we try to work with landowners to do whatever they want, you know, like up by, I know, like up by Ringo and all that, I know some of the farmers up there, so I talk to them, you know. Where would you like to have your trail? And then Mike Anderson, he does a lot up there for us too, for the mountain club. So. So yes. So.
But I know what you mean about. We had that wolf hunt a few years ago. I was snowshoeing out on my property a day or two before that. Was out there 3 or 4 days later after the hunt. I was shocked at the traffic up there. Across open fields and the woods,
Yeah.
snowmobiles, snowshoes.
Yeah.
And what went on for a few days where no one had permission to be there.
Yeah.
And it only takes one of those incidents. And it's hard to get somebody to say yes.
It is, it's real hard, I mean, you know, you really can't blame the landowner, you know, they're giving us 20 feet, roll wide. This route, and then somebody decides they're gonna take a joyride, you know. So, it's just the way it is, you know, and then we're back to, well, then we've got to run the road right away, or talk to the townships and all that stuff like that, so it's like Tom said, it's never ending, it's every year, there's something comes up.
So this is like a decade or ago or more with the city of Ashland when the issue of the snowmobilers getting off the trails came up. It turned out that when they looked at who was getting off, it was almost always from people outside the area.
Yes, it is.
And so, of course, they're gonna frequent the establishments, and I guess maybe one place to put notices and remind people stay on the trail, because if you want the trail, you gotta stay on the trail, or you won't be up there, because locals know, they almost always respect staying on the trail. It's so outsiders and at the establishments, maybe that's where billboards, messages, word of mouth to.
Last year I stopped down at Climb Lake, I did one, my wife and I went for a ride. I started talking, there must have been 400 sleds in Climb Lake. Kansas, Iowa, Illinois, southern Wisconsin, they all flocked here. We're getting more and more people coming to Ashland County because they're trying to get away from the Minocqua, Eagle River type, because it's so crowded over there. We've improved our trail systems so much dramatically over the last 4 or 5 years. The trails are good, people want to come, you know, and it's not so crowded. But some people, they don't want, because here, go from this bar to that bar, oh shit, that's 30 miles, but over here, I can go 2, you know? That's what some will look at it, so. Yeah. And like you said, the bridges thing, that's ongoing too. We had some bridges inspected. We had one, well, the one that's getting replaced this year, that was inspected, what, 3 years ago and condemned. We had to bypass that for 2 years, we're finally getting that one run. One here in town, that was 2 years, that got done last year. We've got a lot of bridges that are, you know, has to be brought up to speed. They're changing all the regulation on the bridges because so many of the other clubs and stuff now are using like tractors with tracks on them, which are a lot heavier than the snowcats and stuff. So.
Any other questions for John? Thanks, John.
Okay, if that's all you got, I gotta go, I gotta be in. Got an appointment, 11:15 and that. See you guys later.
Good luck. We have a recreation officer yet?
We do not.
Oh, okay.
Thanks for asking.
No report there.
We'll report there.
Here we go, Chris, up to you now.
Okay, before I start, introduce my staff. Dan Natsky back here in the green. He's our forester. He handles a lot of our recreation work that we do. Tom Ernst is the assistant administrator. He's in charge of the timber sale program. And then the glue that holds all this together is Shayna. She's our office manager. You can answer everybody's questions. With that, we'll get into the first thing everybody should have got is a copy of our annual report. Something we produce every year. The work that we do in the forestry department does not change a whole lot from year to year, so you will notice that our annual report does not change a lot from year to year. However, I can find the correct page that matters to everybody. I don't have a page number, but it's distribution of county forest timber sale revenue. This is the page that does change every year, and this is the page that's the most important. So it has a breakdown of our timber sale revenue for 2025. 10% of our revenue goes to the towns. Payment, it's broken down by the acres of county forest that's in each town. So at the bottom of the page, you see a breakdown of the acres in each township, what that percentage is, and what those payments were then that went directly to the towns. A number of years ago, I came to the forestry committee. There's a piece of town road in the town of Gordon that's very important to us, moving county forest product out of the forest. Town of Gordon does not have any county forest in it, so they never received a payment. So I asked for 0.5% of our timber sale revenue to give to the town of Gordon to help maintain that particular piece of road. So that's represented in the middle of the page there, that $2,600 and change that goes to the town of Gordon. And then the net number is the money that went to the county from the timber sale program last year in 2025. Just short of $450,000. So that's the page in the annual report that changes dramatically. Everything else pretty much stays the same, like I said, because our workload doesn't change much year to year.
Yeah, I'm well aware that you update this stuff and just above the line that says in bold net timber sale revenue, you've got 589,000 and change there. I believe that should be the number at the top, 523 and change. This number here, if you take.
Oh, correct. You're
Yeah.
correct. You are
This
correct.
number right here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just so if you can change that.
Okay. Yep.
Well, does this have to go to before the county board or
Yeah,
This will go to the county board as well.
at the next meeting, or
Correct.
do we have to pass this then?
You just need to accept the report.
George has a question, hand up.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Chris, on page 23, I think it is, of the annual report, seems to be about a few recreational facilities that receive probably some grant funding. Could you explain that? The one I was uncertain about is labeled as the Bay City Cultural Center. And I thought maybe that's the same as Bohemian Hall, but I didn't really know.
So we will cover that under item C, 12C on the agenda.
This is not part of the annual report?
That is not part of the annual report, correct? That's a separate line item on the agenda.
Okay, that's good. When we get there, thank you.
You bet.
so for clarity in this document that we have, because the page numbers are consecutive, where on the annual report, are you finishing with the timber sales then?
So it ends with volumes cut by producer.
Well, that would be page 22.
It should have a list of, the contractors and their percentage of what they produce.
Well, except for that one change with the numbers.
Correct.
I'm okay with
Okay.
where we are there then.
We need a motion.
Need a motion to take it to the county board,
We need a motion to take it to the county board.
please.
This is, I'll make a motion to approve with the one change that Chris is gonna make.
Yep. Thanks for catching
I
that.
will second.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I could. All in favor of sending this to the county board, say aye.
Next item 12B, timber sale contract approval. Myself and my staff, we opened timber sale bid yesterday. We summarized the bid results. We handed out this morning when everybody got here the white and yellow paper. We had up for sale 4 timber sales. We sold all 4 of them, which is good. The pertinents are broken down on here. The winning bidder is highlighted in yellow. I can answer any questions, and then I need the committee's approval to award these timber sales.
Anybody got any questions on those? Yep.
So, it looked like the minimum bid was passed on every single one. And it looks like from the last sale we had, looks like we got more bidders. You know, I think we had we had a bunch of property that didn't, we didn't get any bids on.
So in the fall bid opening, we had 2 bids that went, or 2 sales that went no bid.
Are they on this list?
They're not. These were brand new sales that we worked on this spring and got put together.
What's the plan to get rid of the 2 that we didn't get done last year?
We're working on that.
Oh, was that the wood market was not there?
So it has to do with market conditions. It has to do with accessibility issues. Northern Wisconsin is loaded with wood that can only be cut in the wintertime, so it makes it hard to sell because everybody's got winter wood for sale. So we're probably gonna take that wood and work it in with other sale opportunities and try to sell it that way.
You know, if we okay these bids today, which we will, when can they start and do they need a down payment?
They can start today if they may sign the contract and make a down payment after you guys approve.
How much the down payment?
15%.
So we're looking at these bids and comparing it to your 2025 annual report for the total that you have there. How does in a typical year, the ratio of bids awarded at this time versus later in the year compare typically?
So every year it changes. Then the amount of acres that we have to offer for sale changes from year to year. Depending on the schedule, the cutting schedule, and then what we actually find in the woods. So what we sell changes year to year. We give a 4-year contract on the timber sales so that the loggers have enough winter opportunities to complete a timber sale. And so the wood then that gets produced on a year varies year to year based on weather and national economy. The timber market drives what gets cut and doesn't get cut on an annual basis. So the 2 of them kind of work independent of each other. What we can sell and what we sell is independent of what actually gets cut. But it creates a volume that we carry in contract that they work from on an annual basis. So it's very similar year to year, but it's independent of each other.
Well, I'm going to ask you a question as far as finance goes. So I'm on the finance committee and your revenue from timber is going to vary year to year.
Correct.
And you always want to do what's best for the forest.
Correct.
As you manage it, and markets change and all that, and you have limited control over who wants what and what they're willing to pay. From a budget perspective, as far as keeping staff and equipment, if you have a down year or 2, are you still able to, from a budget perspective, have enough in your budget to keep the people and the equipment that you need so that you're not saying, gee, we maybe should try to get a sale that you might otherwise be reluctant to?
So in the 21 years that I've been here, yes, we've never encroached so far into the timber revenue that we've threatened our operation. But like I said, it does vary year to year. We've had a banner year of $1.2 million in revenue, and we've always averaged between 450 and 600,000, somewhere in that neighborhood. And our budget draw is like 300,000. So we're always exceeding that. And we've never gotten to the point where it's been threatened. When I started here 21 years ago, we were working in the neighborhood of $200,000 to $250,000 a year in revenue. And I got the county to approve a third position for the department, which we did not have when I started. And that's allowed us to get to our annual allowable cut every year, which allows us to maximize timber revenue coming back.
All right.
And that's ultimately the goal. I mean, correct, we want to do what's right for the county forest first. But then that 1A goal is to maximize the revenue return to the county. And having that third staff member allows us to do it. And then we've always been able to maintain a high enough level of revenue to not threaten the operational budget.
Okay, good. Thank you.
And a lot has to do with the winter, because we have a really warm winter when over half of the
Yeah.
wood, and so you might have a down year. And then, but the next year.
You have a bumper
Yeah,
here.
so.
And then one thing I always tell the committee, so you guys understand, is there's two things we can't control in forestry. It's the weather and the economy. We can control everything else that goes on in the county forest, but those two things. And those have the biggest influence on our revenue.
George has a question.
Go ahead, George.
Chris, do you have any sense as to if and how we might be affected by this proposed biofuels plant over in Hayward?
I don't have enough information to make a completely solid prediction, but I can say it's not going to hurt us at all. But my understanding is they're going to be using primarily residue, which Ashland County Forest does not produce any residue. So that won't benefit us directly, but it will benefit the industry that supports us. It'll benefit the sawmills and the scrag mills because they'll have new markets to go to with their revenue or with their waste. And hopefully that will help them generate more revenue, which keeps them viable to buy the roundwood products that we're selling. So depending on what they do with what they're purchasing for the raw stock, it could affect us directly or indirectly, but either way, it's a good thing.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Chris? Did we get a motion to approve the sale contract? I'd like to make a motion that we approve it.
George will second.
George, a second. Any more conversation on the new sale contracts? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the timber sale contract for this year or this early summer, say aye.
Aye.
Both say nay.
And for information's sake, we have a second bid opening in the fall. It'll be, well, fall, we call it the fall bid opening, but we open them in December. So we will go through this again in December with another batch of timber sales off of this year's coming schedule. Okay, the next item on the agenda, 12C Recreation Grant Review and Award. George referenced this earlier. Every year in our budget, the county board sees to it that we get $10,000 put into a county recreation grant. Then this committee administers that grant. We've got a application process that we ask people to use. They submit a grant application January through March. Gives us April. We usually review these in May, but on a new election year, where meeting gets pushed back till June, so we do it in June. But they send in an application. We go through that application, make sure it's a good project. And then I just throw together the summary for you guys. And it's up to the committee to award or not award funding out of that $10,000. And so it varies year to year. Some years we don't get any applicants. Some years we get a dozen applicants. This year we happen to have received 3 applicants. All 3 of them are good projects. They meet the minimum requirements of the application. They're the Glidden Athletic Association, the Bay City Cultural Center, which is the Bohemian Hall, and the Butternut Area Park Association. There's a project title there that kind of describes what each organization is doing, what their costs are, what they have in hand for cash. One of the requirements is they have to have 25% cash in hand for their project cost. There's an unfunded balance and they're eligible for 25% of their unfunded balance in a grant application. Obviously, the total grant request at 25% is almost $35,000. That exceeds the $10,000 that we have available. So I leave it to the committee's discretion. I would guess I would recommend splitting the $10,000 three ways and awarding an equal amount to each organization, but that is up to you gentlemen to make that decision. That's kind of what we've done in the past, unless there's a single applicant maybe, and they ask for some $7,500, the committee is awarded the $7,500, and then the rest of it just goes back to the general fund.
Well, do we have a non-lapsing fund or no?
We do not. We did, but those have been removed.
Why were they removed?
So you guys decided to remove them.
Okay.
But at the recommendation of the financial directors, they wanted to get rid of all those non-lapsing funds that were hanging out there because it's hard to keep track of all.
So. I know you got three of them, and dividing in three ways is maybe the easiest and most comfortable thing to do with. I want to ask about the Butternut Area Park Association. You're looking for an ADA compliant bathroom, and you have a rather large amount that's unfunded. How important or pressing is it that that project gets addressed?
I don't know the answer to that. They would probably tell you it's very important, but I would imagine all three of them would tell you that would give you the same answer. You know what I mean? When they provide the application, it's a description of the project, it's proof of their funding. There's not really a declaration of like need in the grant process or in the application process. So it would be hard for me to speak to that.
No.
George has a comment.
Go ahead, George.
Seems to me it should be allocated proportionally instead of by just 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. So your larger project will get a higher proportion of the funding and proportional to their requirements. That'd be my suggestion anyway. So I mean, Butternut would get about 2/3 of it. Bay City would get something less than 1/3, and Glidden would get about 10% of it, I guess.
Bill, what was done last year as far as were same applicants last year, or who got the money last year?
So last year, the only applicant on this list that received funding would be the Glidden Athletic Association. The other two both received funding in 24 and 23.
They're all.
Hey, everybody, this is Erica, the grant writer. Can you hear me?
Yep.
I have worked with both the Glidden Athletic Association and Bay City Cultural Center, but I have not with the Butternut Area Park Association, and I don't know who to contact for that. I believe I would be able to connect them with some grant opportunities at the very least, because it's for ADA restrooms. So if someone could contact me from there or connect us, that would be really useful.
It's Randy Smart.
Okay, I was working with Troy, but I can get Randy's
Yeah.
information to her too.
Thank you.
Erica, this is Pat. If there were grant opportunities, I would assume that they would still need a match.
I would assume so as well. I do know that there, for different types of projects, there are both public and private funding for ADA related issues, and both kind of local, regional, state, and federal, or at least there used to be federal. I have not checked in a while. The Bohemian Hall is looking for those as well. And so I think some of that research I've already done, because the Bohemian Hall would like to create a downstairs entrance that's ADA accessible. So yeah.
Well, one of the things that comes to my mind is, the ADA compliant bathrooms are important. we understand that, and for some people, they're particularly important if they're up visiting, and part of Ashland County, what we've done is. We funded, I believe it's the Discover Wisconsin bit, where we've got 3 stories that we tell. And down in this neck of the woods, we've talked about things being accessible to everyone. And so we are advertising Ashland County through that investment in Discover Wisconsin. And Gary, correct me if I'm wrong. Is it Discover Wisconsin or the?
It is, Pat.
We've advertised that. And here we have a bathroom that's not ADA compliant. In this neck of the woods where we helped accessibility. Which is a good thing. I lean towards the butternut project more heavily than the others. As far as the exact division. I mean, if you want me to make a suggestion, I will. Or if anybody else wants to, I think towards the butternut one.
George has a further comment.
Go ahead.
So one of the reasons I'd like to see this allocated proportionally is I'd like to demonstrate to the broader Board of Supervisors the inadequacy of this level of funding. And if we put all the money in one pot and just show that we're giving a partial amount to one project, they won't see how inadequate this is. And I'd like them to take a look at that and make a decision about whether this should change in future years.
My only discrepancy is somebody could, well, if we start doing it that way, and somebody will start, they'll catch wind of that and they'll start fluffing their project up. Make it look better so they get a bigger jump. This is my feeling on it. But
is that another way of saying you prefer dividing it 3 ways?
yes, I prefer dividing it 3 ways. Nope, I disagree. Well, that's not, understand, we didn't agree on that.
I would like to see Glidden get 2,000. They City get 3,000 and Butternut get 5,000. Yes, I'm from Butternut. That's what I'd like to see. And then that they're all part of the county, they're all deserving organizations.
Are you gonna make a motion?
That's what my motion would be, 2, 3, and 5.
Are we gonna have to be able to do this with motions, or are we gonna have to vote on?
Is that a motion?
That's a motion?
Yes, that is the motion, 2, 3, and 5.
I'll second it then.
Any other discussion on this now?
Yeah. George will say that I prefer Chris's original proposal over this kind of split, which can be viewed as having a bias of the committee. So I will vote no.
Motion.
We got a motion and a second. Pat?
And I realize this isn't an easy thing for any of us, but we're having to make a choice, and one choice is to cut it proportionately to each of them. But if we backtrack a bit on finance, which I'm on, we have to make a decision to even put money in the pot for projects that can be then used for various things. That's a decision too, to put the amount here that you have, and we have organizations that ask for funding. And we say in some cases 0, because there has to be a demonstrated need. In fact, Chris, the form that you have because I wanted better information on these requests. And it doesn't mean we can give money to everybody. We obviously can't, because we know people only want to pay so much taxes or are willing or able to. So there are limits to funding, and sometimes the answer is simply no. And the allocations, the different places that they then use, get split. So this is all part of that process of allocating, and not an easy thing, but
I would just like to add, I think all three of these are very deserving and they could use the money. And they all are in Ashland County. And they all have needs. So that's why I felt that it should follow that motion. Any other discussion?
Should do a roll. Because you're spending money.
We'll do a roll call vote on bills 532. Does Glidden one get 2,000? Ashland Bay City get 3,000 and Butternut Park get 5,000. Roll call vote. I agree. I disagree.
I agree.
yes.
George abstains. George abstains.
So there's 3 yeses, so that passes. Keep losing the butter.
Well, I was in favor of giving Glidden 5, but they only asked for 3, so.
Even next year, they'll tell them they gotta flop it up to $1 million project going. Anyway.
The final item on 12D is county forest use ordinance. We've had some form or fashion of quote unquote ordinance in the past. It was time to kind of clean it up and make it chapter and verse so it would fit into the county ordinances, which it was not chapter and verse prior to. And so what we presented to you,
Hang on a second.
our proposal right now for county forest ordinance is very simple. We tried to make it as clean and short as we possibly could and still cover what we thought was pertinent today. Obviously, as things change over time, we can obviously amend and add to and take away from this document. So we've covered the hunting questions, access questions, and camping questions. Those were the 3 big items that we thought we needed to have enforceable ordinance on. So I would ask the committee if you have any questions, would be I'd like a motion to recommend it to the full board for approval and adoption. It's the new county forest ordinance.
Did we have any ordinance before?
We had what we called ordinance. I've been told it wasn't actual ordinance, but it was the rules and regulations that we use that we've now codified into ordinance. Corp council drafted this document. I did not draft this document. We provided input on what we would like to see so that we could enforce it. And this is what Corp council produced for us.
George, did you get a chance to view this?
Yes, I read through it.
You did read it.
A little bit hard to understand in some places, but it looks okay.
So we have a motion to send this to the county board, approve it, send it to the county board. Well,
I shall make that motion.
I'll second that. Dave second. Discussion, Pat.
I've got some extensive comments. I'm glad Corp Council is gonna get them. I got a few comments. So I'm reading this, and then section 24.3.1 definitions. The first paragraph is the ATVs. And then I asked myself, well, why didn't they mention UTVs? I would suggest that further down in 24.3.1, we move the UTV up right after the ATV. So they're together. Versus being separated. This section on placement, I had to come back to this. So then you've got sections on ground lines and tree stands. So instead of just the word placement, I would suggest placement location of portable tree stands and ground lines. But I'm not sure what placement means. Is this hunting stuff? Is it campers? What are we placing? So they don't explain what is there. In 24.3.2, Wisconsin's first big game hunting season. Oh boy, I wish somebody would give me, this is Corp Council, I wish they would give me a definition of what you mean by big game hunting season. We're talking deer, we're talking bear, one or the other. And then more specifically, there's youth hunts and that sort of stuff. Is this the regular season? Does it include when a youth hunt starts? I don't know, because what if you have a youth hunt or a hunt for disabled hunters? For them, that's a season that's starting, for using that as a timeline. That is not clear for me. And then I also, in 24.3.2, at the end there, it says, to remove them no later 1 week after the closing date of Wisconsin's last deer season the following years? Or should that be that year?
It's that year. It's
So
in
is that
January of the
following
next year. What's in January of the following year? So the 2025 deer season ends in January of 26.
Closing date of Wisconsin's last deer season the following year.
Right, so the 25 deer season ended in January of 26.
Yeah, I think that's easily misread. I certainly read it as meaning by the end of by the November of the following year. So I think it needs some clarification.
Starts in September and it ends in January of the next year. So the
I
20,
understand that. I'm looking at the from the perspective of the hunter and understanding this, and I don't think it's clear.
When it says last year's season, it ends in January, but then it says of the following year, so now we're another calendar year up. The court counsel could be right. I mean, if we're looking for an ordinance that somebody has to enforce, that certainly could be clear.
That sounds similar to what is in the DNR regulations. But you could always look to make sure that aligns. But that, I'm pretty sure that's how it's written in the regulations too.
You know, I was okay with this, but I think it can be improved, and I think we should delay sending it to the county board.
I don't want to pick on the DNR act, unless it's here, but the whole DNR rule book is way more confusing than.
Well, and I say these things realizing if you want to enforce something, it's better that it's clear to start with, so when you don't have issues.
well, I agree. I want it to be as clear as it can be.
Yeah,
Can you just take the following year off? 1 week after the closing date
of the season.
of the Wisconsin's last deer season, period.
Of the, of that season. And then in 24.3.3 ground blind, it does not damage any vegetation. I assume you're talking about trees more than things on the ground like grass and ferns and whatever.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm concerned about everything, but trees would be the priority. But I don't want them going in the middle of a grassed in wildlife opening with a weed whacker and trimming out a 10 by 10 square of grass either that they set their ground blind on. But if they set it on the forest floor and it crumbles a couple of ferns or whatever, yeah, that's not the concern.
So if they put up a tree stand, can they prune some limbs to get that stand up?
Technically speaking, they cannot.
Do we want to say that, or do we want to not say it and then live with a little bit of pruning, but then they start making shooting lanes and everything?
Well, and the shooting lanes is what is really the problem. And I want to leave law enforcement with enough discretionary ability to make a decision on whether or not to write a ticket versus forcing them to have to write the ticket.
All right. And then the next page, 24.3.4 tree stand in B. You want the person's name, etc., and all that good stuff. But then it doesn't include a requirement to put a date of placement there, because without knowing a date of placement, how do you know how long it's been there? Because eventually they got to get them out of there.
So we don't know the date of placement, but when we find them, we document the date that we find them. And we typically take and hang an orange laminated card with their stand that points out any defect that might be in their placement and gives them a running clock of, okay, it has to be removed by the end of that season. So if we find it in June, it's in violation. If we find it in October and we don't know when it was placed, then we notify them that, hey, we know your stand is here. It's got to be gone 1 week after the last date of the season.
Would there be a reason not to ask them to also include the date of placement since you're asking them for other information?
Other than they can just put down any date they want? No, there wouldn't be.
Okay. 24.3.7 for the camping. This is the camping without charge. Why is it without charge? Because obviously you got some staff time, spent monitoring stuff. And do other counties charge anything at all, just even a permit fee to help offset the fact that someone's gonna monitor things?
I am not aware of any other counties that are charging a fee for dispersed camping. Some counties are requiring a permit to be filled out so that they can start the clock on when the camping started. Those are typically the counties that have bigger county forests where they don't get to every crook and cranny of the county forest on a regular basis. But I don't know of anybody charging fees for dispersed camping. The only fees I'm aware of for camping are in their developed campground.
The Forest Service doesn't.
Correct.
7 or 14 days, they can stay in one spot, so.
And we tend to cover our county forest on a very regular basis because it's not very big. It's only 42,000 acres. We could drive it all in an hour. So if somebody starts to camp in the county forest, we typically see them within a couple of days of their placement, and then we start the clock on them.
So in that section on camping, it does not have specific language about removal of all trash. Towards the end, it says, it makes a reference to improper disposal of garbage at the top of page 29. But there's no reference to me early on. It would be helpful. It says they're required to remove all trash, and I don't know if that you wanted to remove food scraps also, but to remove all trash, properly dispose of that. And then it's also not clear to me, and I'm going to the bathroom, the number 2 stuff. Do you want them to dig a hole and bury everything, or can they just leave it on the ground, including what they used to wipe themselves with?
I guess I hadn't thought of it. We've not had that issue in the past.
They tend to bury it.
They tend to bury it. The people that do disperse camp in the county forest tend to bury it. We've not had an issue, so I guess I hadn't thought of it.
Yeah, but we could add the proper removal of all garbage, and if you want food scraps, also include that, and then directions on what to do with the waste. Because somebody new might not know, at least if they're reading online and they go, oh, okay, then they can come prepared to deal with it. And then on 24.3.8 motorized vehicles. What about people with mountain bikes? Can they go on these walking trails? It's not clear to me if they can or can't.
So on our hunter walking trails, those are designated for walking only. So I would say the answer to that question would be no. But that prohibition has always traditionally just been for motorized vehicles. So ATVs and pickup trucks and Jeeps.
And then we get to this now fine line of what if somebody's got an e-bike where they could pedal or use the battery.
Correct.
Pat, just if I can interrupt, in e-bike and a trail bike, at least in the US federal system, is not allowed. The Forest Service lands where they allow a mountain bike also allow an e-bike, because it has no real difference in impact on the surface of the land.
So if you want the hunter walking trails to be walking only, then for clarity, it may be helpful to add no mountain bikes or e-bikes. So that if someone, just so people know if that's allowed or not, because.
And so we only have, I think it's 500 walking trails that are quote unquote designated, and we maintain them as such, and they are signed as such with prohibitions and stuff on them. So you're aware, we do have probably hundreds of miles of other county forest roads that would be accessible to mountain bikes or e-bikes and are accessible to ATVs to use for hunting and berry picking and that kind of thing. It's just those specific hunter walking trails where we don't want to have a bad interaction between somebody with a gun and somebody that's on a bike or a 4-wheeler.
Yeah, so if long as we're writing an ordinance, then if you want that strictly walking, then so not only no motorized, but no mountain bikes or e-bikes. And again, I'm thinking about if, say, someone planning to come to the area and they're looking at trails, just so they know and they can go somewhere, you know, where you're asking them to go.
Sure.
And then in 24.3.9 general prohibitions, under I, this didn't make any sense to me. Leave an open fire during a DNR red flag fire ban period. Or when the site is posted for no open fires. I mean, it sounds like don't have a fire when you shouldn't have a fire. Because leave an open fire somehow suggests, okay, I can have a fire. Is that accurate? If there's this.
So my understanding, and I've got fire guys here in the room that can correct me if I'm wrong, even during a red band period, if you need a fire in order to cooking your food and maintain your health, you can have a fire.
But these are prohibited actions. Look at the top line. These are there's a whole list of prohibited things. You shall not leave a fire.
That instead of leave an open fire leave an open fire during DNR red flag, it'd be when emergency burn restrictions are in place.
Yeah, that's before you come back.
Because you are correct, when there is a red flag ban, cooking and warming fires are still generally allowed, but when we have emergency burn regs in place, no open flames allowed.
And then my last comment in J, two-thirds of the way down the first line there, it's trial, I think you mean trail.
Oh, yeah, definitely. We don't want any trials in the county forest.
See, you're working with an attorney and that's where his mind went to. Alright.
Bill. I think I would be more comfortable to withdraw my motion to pass this until these corrections are made. And then can be discussed again. So I would like to rescind my motion to bring this to the county, pass this and bring this to the county board now. I'd like to have some of these addressed, because those were very good issues. I don't agree with some of them, but they were very good issues. You know, the clarification. So I would like to withdraw my motion if you would withdraw your second.
And I'll withdraw the second. So when I say all this, Chris, I'm thinking about, one is the people coming to the area and they read this and understand what the expectations are, what's okay or not okay. I'm also thinking about going out there and dealing with people and saying, well, I read this and I thought I could do this. And then them having to explain that's not what we meant. So if we've got park council working on this, we can get this so it's works well for everybody. So I'm glad you're doing this.
Well, I told Dan Grady, I said, I grow trees, I don't know how to do it. So that's why I ended up at corp council, because this is about what I want to deal with. So I have no problems taking these suggestions back and having changes made.
And if you want to ask him to talk to me or review his next draft, he could email it to me. I'd be happy to review the next draft. Be happy to do that.
Okay, we'll push that off to review next meeting to get it fixed up by then.
Yeah, well, I'll get it fixed up for sure. That's all I had for action items. If I can slide into updates, there's not a whole lot to update either. There's some logging going on in the county forest right now, not as much as we would obviously like, but enough to keep us busy. John mentioned trail damage from that snow back in November of last year. We're looking to start on the Hunter walking trails, getting those brushed open this year. That's going to be a substantially big lift that we don't normally have to deal with. So we're going to start on that here towards the end of the month, and then we'll be into our summer maintenance of prepping those Hunter walking trails for in the fall and boat landing maintenance and that kind of stuff. So kind of where we're at for our summer work pattern.
And George has a question.
Okay. Go ahead, George.
Yeah. So under administrator updates, I just wanted to ask, whatever happened to the carbon credits thing?
That's a great question. We're not the only county that's been placed basically on hold at this point. Iron County has received some credit payments. I believe Bayfield County has seen some. And the rest of the counties that went into the carbon markets are some of us have our projects completed and we have credits for sale. Some counties are still completing their projects. Ashland County credits, to my knowledge, have been offered for sale twice and have not been purchased yet. So we are to market with our carbon, but we have not completed a sale of our carbon as of yet.
Thank you.
But
Bill. On a prior meeting, we brought up the sale or purchase of property to provide lake access.
correct.
What's the status on that?
He basically decided to walk away from the project, was not interested in completing a purchase. I offered him money in exchange for an easement for the boat landing, and he said, I'll take that under advisement, and that's the last we've talked about.
They can still use the boat landing.
So it's, as far as I know, it's sitting there, and he's, the beginning of that whole process, he said he did not want to refuse anybody access to the lake. I think he's focused on building his cabin and stuff right now, and it's not a priority for him.
So we're on the administrator updates and you gave us a copy of the work plan.
Correct.
So would this fit as far as,
So that was informational. We passed and approved that last year. I included that for the new members of the committee so they could kind of see what the forestry department does on an annual basis. So if you have any questions, feel free.
in number 7 on roads with the Ashland County Highway Department, do you have a need for them to do work this year?
Well, I do have need for them to do work this year. I just talked with Matt earlier this week. The second landing, boat landing, needs some maintenance work done. There's some potholes and stuff that need to be filled, and a culvert that's pushing through that they're gonna grind the top off of. He's just gonna fit it into his work schedule this summer.
And what about the major reconstruction of the mud line? Where
That's something that I keep on there to remind myself and everybody else that it's something that we need to try to find a way to solve, but it's a big nut to crack, and it's just financially it's burdensome. It's about 2.5 miles of woods road that needs to be rebuilt. And we get, I don't know, it's like $1,200 a year in road aid. So I never have enough money in the bank to do any big projects up there. So we do the small maintenance that we can to keep it functional, but not in a well repaired state.
Mhm.
But we do use the highway department whenever we can. When we have a road project, we try to use them whenever we can use them. And keep that money in house.
Okay.
Got any other updates?
The only other update I guess I would give to the committee, some of you may have heard, may have not heard, you're probably going to hear at some point. We'll have a boat landing on Lake Superior, second landing at the end of Wright Dole Road. It's been there for about 23 years, 22 years. It's a safe harbor. It's a significant boat landing. It has break walls and a big parking lot, a boat wash and pit toilet. The landing itself has silted in. Ever since it's been built, it's been silting in, and it's finally got to the point last year where people started to complain about it. So we started the process of acquiring a dredging permit. We have that dredging permit in hand now. We can't get any dredging company to talk to us and give us a cost estimate. We need a cost estimate so we can go look for some grant funding. But the grant funding that's available is only a 50% cost share, so then the county's going to be on the hook for a significant portion of dollars and cents if we're going to complete that project as well. So just if you guys run into any of your constituents that have questions about second landing, that's kind of the update of what's going on. We have the permit. We think we've got a company out of the UP that's going to come and give us an estimate on what the work will cost. Then we can start applying for that grant money then to maintain that basin. So that's where we're at right now. That's it. Unless anybody's got any other questions.
Any other questions? Moving on to public comment on the Ashland County Comprehensive Plan.
George.
George, a comment, because there are probably no public comments today, be my guess. I just want to point out to everybody that the comprehensive plan is going to start solidifying now. And so if anybody, people that want to have opinions and want to make a comment, they should do it soon. And then, they can do it directly. They don't have to come through the committee. And I suspect that regarding our responsibilities, if there are any comments out there, they're more likely to be on the recreation side regarding trails and things like that. So just a reminder, this is going to solidify pretty soon. And if there are people out there who want to provide input, they should do it. Thank you.
George. Anybody else on that? Pat?
I'm gonna backtrack if I could on that second landing into dredging. If you could shoot me an email at some point, hopefully before too long, even a very rough estimate of what that 50% would look like, just so we go through budget season. Would have in mind at least what that looks like.
So I sent Dan, on the capital request, I sent him just a placeholder of $50,000. I thought that would be enough to cover the county's half if we got the grant. And he said he would bring it up at your finance committee meeting, but he said that the capital requests were fairly substantial this year, so he didn't think it would make the cut, which is what it is. The boaters are able to get in and out of second landing safely. The people who use it on a regular basis have figured out how to get in and out of there safely. So it's functional, it's just not ideal. And the permit is good until 27, and I can probably extend it for at least 2 years after that.
George would like to comment on that particular point. The city of Ashland new boat ramp down on the waterfront next to the marina is being worked on right now. And once that's completed, it'll be a good window of opportunity for the dredging to take place out at Second Landing. Because you have an alternative place to launch.
My understanding, George, is the people working on the city boat landing have been contacted about our project. And I have not heard anything back from them yet. The members of the Rod and Gun Club, which share our parking lot at the end of Wrightdale Road, have been trying to find somebody that's willing to give us an estimate on cost as well. So there's work being done, there's work going on, and hopefully by the end of fall, we'll have some kind of answer.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Chris, when do we want the next meeting?
So let's schedule the next meeting for August. If I can get this ordinance stuff done prior to that, I might reach out to you, Gary, and try to schedule a meeting for the first Wednesday in July, if I can get it done that quick.
Wednesday in July?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'll let you know, as the chairman, I'll let you know if I get that done in time. Because I'd like to get the ordinance stuff done as quickly as I can, so even if it's just a meeting to move the ordinance forward.
That would be the 1st of July.
But that's that first Wednesday, correct?
No, July he's talking about.
So right now, I'd like to schedule the meeting for August 5th. If I can get the edits done to the ordinance before that, I would like to have the meeting in July. And I will reach out to Gary to schedule a meeting in July. But right now, let's plan on August, because I don't know how fast I can get legal review done on my edits that I will make to the ordinance that we discussed. I'm thinking that's why we should schedule for
Do
August.
we have anything else that needs to be?
There is nothing else that would need to be discussed. And I don't like to have meetings for the sake of having meetings.
But it'd be better to get that in place before the fall when most people are using it. Rather than.
Let me ask this, so we have a draft. It's in many ways substantially there. It's money, I'll say minor,
I think that the edits are very minor.
So. But the board has to approve this anyway.
Correct.
We could approve it subject to. Edits or corrections from court counsel, and since we're on the board and we've got a board meeting. Third week of June, 23rd or something. I don't know how long it'll take court counsel, but if we approve it based on. Modifications from court counsel, then we'll all have another look at it. And if we're substantially in agreement there, these are just clarifications or a few additions or something.
We can revisit.
I think we could approve it. Contingent on that,
Yeah.
and then when it gets to the board. You know, then we should be in good shape, and like I said, I'd be happy to, if our council wants to send me a draft and I could send it back and. You know, if I've got anything else, then we should be okay once it gets to the board being okay, if you're okay with that.
I'm fine with
Yeah,
that.
if you wanna make that as a motion,
I'll make a motion that we approve the. Ashland County Forest Ordinance. Subject to revisions that Clark Council. Will make prior to sending it to the county board.
I don't like how you worded that, subject to the, that you brought up. You know, I would rather see that addressed.
Well, subject to, well, Chris, you mentioned some things in there too, and so did the person in back related to fire, so.
Right, well, what I'll do is I'll make the edits based on the conversation we had. I'll send them to Dan to channel them to clerk to make sure they meet the legal standard of language is proper and. Which I'm assuming it will be, and then we'll just move forward from there.
I'll second Pat's motion.
Yeah. And then,
Discussion?
We're having a meeting in July.
right,
Any other discussion on this?
Yeah. I disagree. I think this ought to come back to the committee. The committee should take full responsibility for the final version. But if we can have it ready by the July 28th county supervisors meeting, that would be great. But I don't think we should just send it off and not have it come back to us.
Well, it sounds like we gotta have a roll call vote on this.
well. George, this is Pat, is there anything that's material in the legal sense? On the suggested edits. That concerns you that this committee would need to look at again?
Yeah, well, given the discussion in this meeting, I want to go back and take a more thorough look myself. And I'd like to see what comes out of corporate council. Is there any hurry about this?
We'd like to get it done sooner than later, so it can be in front of the public as long as it can be before our. Fall use season, when the heaviest recreation occurs on the county forest is in the fall, obviously with hunting and stuff, so. The sooner we can get it in front of the public, the better for us.
Okay, so if we can get it done before Labor Day, that sounds pretty good to me.
So do we wanna vote on this? Pat?
Well, one more comment, you know, bear in mind, like any ordinance, it can always be modified in the future.
Correct.
So if, for whatever reason, the first time this gets passed. We can always change it. So I'm okay
Right now,
now,
there's no order.
right, so I think getting something done to pass at the next county board meeting is the important part. And then if we want to modify it, we can always come back and modify it.
So we'll do a roll call vote to see if we can pass this through to get the changes made. And then to the county board.
Okay, George votes no.
George voted no, David passed time forward. I'll say yes,
Yes. Yes.
pass that roll call vote. I didn't think we'd ever get here, but the most important thing of the day, oh gee. Pat?
Well, he was looking at a meeting possibly in July, so back to scheduling the next.
August 5th.
So you want to stay with August 5th?
Right.
Okay.
With the caveat, if something comes up, obviously we'll schedule a
All
meeting.
right.
And I'll make a motion that we adjourn. And it's second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Okay, thanks everybody from Massachusetts. See you next time.
Okay. Well, the next meeting will be on August 5th, 9:30.
9:30.
So.